Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Beyond the South Stand, the very first Beyond the South Stand of the 2025-26 football season. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Morgan, just calm down. I'm coming to you. I'm absolutely delighted to be able to introduce my co-host today, the illustrious Morgan Hewitt. Hello, Morgan. How are you?
I'm very well. Did you almost forget my surname?
No, I was thinking of like a funny thing to put in between, but I couldn't quite work out in my head. So I decided just to go with the actual name.
Yes, it's the first South Beyond the South Stand of the new season, which is absolutely insane to think, given like I hopped on this 7 months ago.
Yeah, it's getting there, isn't it?
Where's that gone?
It's getting. I don't know. I can't believe it. So we are actually blessed. Can't you believe I used that word? I can't believe I used the word blessed, but I'm going with it. We're blessed to be joined with our second ever Millwall fan on Beyond the South Stand, Mr. John Sabir. Sorry.
I really wouldn't say it's a blessing, but thanks for having me.
No, thanks. Welcome to the madhouse, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. John, if you'd just like to perhaps introduce yourself to our audience, what you do for a living, and perhaps how long you've supported Millwall.
I'm John. I'm from London. It sounds like a dating show.
Blind date.
Yeah, I've been a Millwall fan for basically my whole life. I grew up in Crystal Palace, but my dad supported Millwall. His dad supported Millwall, and I've been going to the games since I was about 5. I've been a season ticket holder basically 35 years or something like that. I go to pretty much all the home games, just a few away games here and there. And for work, I work in policy and advocacy for a not-for-profit organisation.
Oh, great. So for any of Norwich fans or Millwall fans watching this, me and Johnny, we go back, don't we? We go back a while. that look on your face. Can we say what we did? Do you think we'll get
a local authority in London for a number of years, and it's been about 8 or 9 years since I've seen your face, but
so you're both car parking attendants, basically.
Yeah,
just for the listeners at home.
No, we weren't. Luckily, we weren't on the front line. We were more like the brains behind the operation.
Yeah, I don't know what you're trying to get at, Morgan. To be fair,
I don't know. It's been a long day.
Not many brains behind that operation, I can tell you.
But yeah, so that's how come I know Johnny. I remember like that mug, your tea mug. You had a Millwall FC tea mug, and it had "No one likes us, we don't care" written on the side of it.
Yeah, and that's one of.
Yeah, and I was like, I remember one day seeing that, and I was like, what's this about? And then you sort of tell me about you supporting Millwall and that kind of thing, and I just thought it was a really funny chant. So yeah. Anyway, Jez, do you want to dive in with the questions?
Yeah, I just did some manoeuvring in the room, but that's fine. I'm done with that. So John, what does it mean? I'll start that again. What does being a Millwall supporter mean to you personally?
I guess as I said earlier, I go with my dad, so I guess it's about family and tradition and community. I've been sitting in the same seat that I sort of did when I was 7. All the people around me, there's been some changes here and there, but generally it's the same people. When you talk, you chat, you meet in the concourse, you have a drink, you just catch up, and half the time you're not even talking about football. It's about this, that, or the other. And so I think community is probably one of the main things that I say. I think it's the same with any sort of club that you support. You get to know the little ins and outs of people's lives and so on, which you probably wouldn't otherwise. But yeah, definitely community is a big part of it.
Yeah, I had the absolute pleasure of going to Millwall twice last couple of years. And I mean that, I'm not taking the piss. I mean that. And I think both, because the reason why is because both times I went, I found it the most easiest place to get to in terms of its location. The transport links in and out were very good. Because I actually went in the home end and the away end. So when I was in the home end, I thought the fan park, for those listening on audio, I'm doing the inverted comma fingers, outside the ground was excellent. And able to build that type of community that you were talking about. But no, even in the away end, I felt that they were still looking after the away fans in the right way, if that makes sense. But no, I agree. I think it's such a community club now, isn't it? Or it always has been. But I think they have got that community feel.
Yeah, they've won awards from the EFL for their sort of outreach programs and things like that. So they're massively sort of into sort of summer schools, kids sports, and everything that goes along with that. Part of the reason that they ended up getting the bar that's just sort of in the concourse-y area outside the ground is because basically all the pubs nearby were forced to close when in the 90s. Especially on match days, they weren't allowed to open because of historic sort of behaviours, shall we say? So it's good that there's sort of more in and around the ground that people can sort of stay there and linger, and food and blah blah blah. But yeah.
You've also got is the Bermondsey Beer Mile quite close?
It's a good, if you're going to walk, it's a good half-hour walk.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you hop on a bus, it's probably about 10 odd minutes or so. There's other places to go, and the transport's okay around there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, one of the times I went, John, I actually done the Bermondsey Beer Mile with a friend of mine, and it's, as you say, it's not close enough where you could sort of go there and then walk 10 minutes to the ground or whatever. You do have to kind of do transport in between, but it's well worth a visit. There's some really, if you're into your craft ales and stuff, then that's the place to go. But there's some really sort of fun and friendly characters around there that have started their own business and are thriving really in that part of London that you wouldn't expect to thrive, perhaps.
No, yeah, it's good. I've been there multiple times.
Yeah. So just in terms of you sort of mentioned before we hopped on the pod that you'd sort of been supporting Millwall since, did you say 5? Or your first game was 5 or whatever?
Yeah.
Do you remember any of those first kind of games that you went to? I guess you're going to have to sort of go back into your memory, but how did it feel? What was the kind of, I suppose, what was the draw? What really made you want to keep going back for more? Because ultimately, right, I know you said about your granddad and your dad supporting Millwall, and it was sort of a traditional thing, but you're in London, you're from London, you spent most of your time in Crystal Palace, or you've got so many other options. What made you keep going back to Millwall?
Yeah, good question. I really have no idea. Otherwise, I would have chosen a better club. There's a couple of memories that sort of stand out. They might not be why I continued to support Millwall, but so when I was like very young, we were still at the old den, and the old den was a terrible old ground, just terraces, falling apart, and it shut when I was 7, I think. But there's a couple of memories. One was that we played Wolves, and it was so waterlogged, and puddles forming everywhere. And someone went to pass the ball. It stopped about 5 meters before the player, and someone had already decided to go in for a slide challenge and went 30 yards, just straight past the ball, straight past the player. And I think that was like, oh, this is good. I like this. That was one memory. And then another memory was I think it was either the last game or towards the end of when we were going to be at the Old Den, and a guy had dressed up in a lion suit and got onto the roof.
Right.
And because it was such a crappy old stadium, part of the roof fell, and he fell through the roof. So I think, like, beyond the sort of family ties, I think that there were just moments where, besides the football, because I was kind of football mad anyway, there were moments that just made me feel, oh, this is great. I like coming here. I like doing this. People are singing. People are chanting. I don't think when you're that young, you know too many other clubs or what they're about, but there's something that you find that you like about what you're doing, and you want to keep going.
Is it? Would you say, Jez, would you say it's a certain level of eccentricity that sort of drew you into that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Also, I'd say, I guess it was probably quite different to me and my family. We're not very loud and shouty and everything, but we're sort of this juxtaposition of who we are and what the traditional sense of what a Millwall fan is.
Yeah.
So I quite like that as well, because whenever I mention to people, oh, I'm a Millwall fan, and they're like, what? Are you? Really? You don't come across like that, and so on. Like, I get it all the time. Yeah, so I think that's probably another part of why I like Millwall.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, I can't actually remember what I was going to say, but you've sort of gone on to the next point. Oh no, that's what I was going to say. I will go on to that. So, John, I think I'd never like to guess people's age, but I think you're probably a similar age to myself, little bit younger than Morgan. So you obviously remember when Millwall got to the FA Cup final?
Yeah, I do. I was there.
I don't think. Sorry if I've killed the questions for later, Morgan, but just wondered what was your thoughts that well, actually, what was your thought on the cup run? Did you ever think, well, what's going on here? How on earth are we getting on this cup run to get to the final? And what was your thoughts on the day?
Well, on the cup run, it was sort of the magic of the cup. I mean, we didn't play a single Premier League team until we got to the final. And then our luck really ran out. We were playing against Man United in Cardiff. Yeah, Ronaldo against Robbie Ryan.
Yeah,
brilliant. we didn't have a single shot on target either, and we lost 3-0. But yeah, I mean, the semi-final was our final in all reality. Yeah. So.
And who was it you played in the semi, and where?
We played Sunderland at Old Trafford when they still used to do the semi-finals. I think it was either Hillsborough or Villa Park or Old Trafford.
Which they still should.
Yeah, we beat them. Yeah, they still should. Beat them 1-0. Tim Cahill scored a bit of a scrappy goal and then ran around the pitch, took his shirt off, swinging it around. Yeah, that's probably my favourite of all time.
Amazing times.
You've killed question 4, Jez, by jumping, but it's okay because I've got one in the bank. I'm a real thought banker.
Oh yeah. I'll just say
yeah. So moving on to question 2. I mean, you've touched on it a little bit with what you said about your juxtaposition. Millwall's always had a reputation for being a fairly tough, no-nonsense club. Do you think that identity still holds today? I mean, I'm talking about, let's not concentrate on what goes on outside of the football, but like, you know, the when you go to Millwall on the pitch and when you're an away fan, like, do you think that's still kind of how people view Millwall?
I think for a lot of people, yes. Whether I think it's deserved, it probably maybe not as much as previously. I mean, football's changed a lot. You can't just kick people. You can't sort of abuse people in the stands. Well, you can, but you're probably less likely to get away with it. Stewarding is a lot better. Information is a lot better for away fans, where to go, how to get places, and so on. And generally, things are just a lot nicer at grounds than they've ever been. So I think that, along with sort of social sort of attitudes and what's acceptable in terms of behavior, have changed. But I think the perception still is there, but it's softening.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
Go on, Jez.
Sorry, Morgan. All I was going to say is I agree, but I also think that there, you know, when we had our previous Millwall fan on, John, who's a lovely guy, we had a chat with another podcast, Millwall podcast, and that was one of the questions that I'd sent him, and he said, "Look, don't ask me that, because we get, this is what we're labelled with, and we just don't like the fact that people think that we're this thing that we're not." And the problem, what I was trying to get across to him was that I know that a lot of like-minded fans know that every club's got its element of I was going to call it what's it called,
challenges, I'd say.
No, like but obviously, but for fans that want to go for a ruck, basically, every club up and down the country's got that. And look, I mean, for me, that the point I was trying to get at there with the previous guy that we had on, not John, the guy that was the podcast chap, I can't remember his name, was that we don't think that. A lot of football fans don't think that anymore. And John, I think you said, you know, people come up to you and go, "You're a Millwall fan, really?" And it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen like that.
I admit I was like that when you showed me the mug, and I admittedly I didn't know too much about. I knew who Millwall were, but then you sort of were like, well, we sing this song because no one likes us. We don't care. I mean, how old is that song now? Is it from back in the day?
I think it's at least 40 odd years old. I think it started around the time of hooliganism, and I think it might have even been a slogan, a headline in a paper, and it just caught on. I'm not exactly sure of the origins of it. But yeah, going back to sort of Millwall has changed as a club. Like our demographic of sport is changing massively as well. A lot of younger people from all backgrounds. We get a lot of sort of football tourism as well because it's in London.
Sure.
And so it's definitely the type of person who goes now is not the stereotype of what was
definitely
before.
No, definitely. I mean, I think sorry, carry on. We're interrupting each other a lot today, aren't we? We're out of practice.
It's because we need to limber up. It's because you've had a chaotic day. There was something there that I wanted to talk about, and you sort of said about the demographic kind of changing. Do you think that's owing to the surrounding areas kind of changing as well? And I know that there wasn't there rumours about the den being bought up, or there was some kind of protest about the new den being bought up and then redeveloped.
Yeah, so a few years ago, Lewisham Council, alongside someone else, basically cut a deal to sell off the den and build flats and everything in the surrounding area. Millwall put in an injunction to try and stop that because they had their own plans for developing in and around the area. And well, luckily for the club, they won that battle, and the den is sort of here to stay, at least for the good near future, and they're looking to build and develop in and around Bermondsey to sort of monetize the area and build sports complexes, flats, and so on. That's part of the club that can drive revenue.
Yeah, that's excellent to hear, and I think that sort of feeds back into your comment about the demographic changing, because we did a series of Beyond the South Stands over the summer. We talked to clubs, fans of clubs who've been promoted or had got into Europe or won a cup. And we spoke to a Spurs fan, and he was talking about, and I didn't really know to the extent of which they invest heavily into the community and really work with the community in Tottenham, in and around the stadium and the area. And I think because obviously Tottenham still has its own challenges and is still a little bit up and coming, as it were. I think that to hear that was really pleasing, because I've spent a lot of time in North London, a long time. It's my turn to get my second team dig in, Jez. But yeah. So is that the hope that the club and the area will kind of grow together and sort of like I said, sort of help with providing a community support?
I mean, ideally, yeah, that's how you'd like football clubs to work. The fans come to you, you go to the fans as the club, and it's a sort of symbiotic relationship. Without one or the other, both fail in some aspects. So I think it's really important that there's outreach and everything like that from the club, and that they try and build sort of new supporters in any way, shape, or form, whether it's free tickets for school kids, summer clubs, or whatever.
I think like as well, and it kind of leads nicely into question 3. I'm not going to ask a question, but I think like the more successful Millwall are in the Championship, the more that you'll get, I suppose, you'll generate interest from football tourists, and that provides a sort of revenue stream in itself. And again, the more successful you become, the more interested I think neutrals become.
Yeah,
I wouldn't disagree, but for the time being, I would say that football tourists are still going to be a minority of the people who come to clubs like Millwall. For clubs like Chelsea, Man United, where people will just buy a season ticket and maybe not go to half the games, or even just maybe not just go to one game a season or something like that. That's a real problem for clubs of that standing. But I think for Millwall, we're not there yet, and I think it will take a very long time and a lot of money for us to ever get to that level where we have with football tourism.
But I think you still get a lot of ardent football fans who, I mean, I started doing a little bit of football tourism a couple of years ago with a good friend of mine who was actually on one of the podcasts. We went to a few grounds like Leighton, Charlton, Gillingham. So I do think there are those people who love lower league football, Championship, League One, League Two, that will still come to these games. So I think that's really cool.
Definitely.
Did you ask question 3?
Well, yeah, it would have led really nicely for what John just said, which it still will. So I don't know why I'm making a thing of it, really. So if Millwall were to reach the Premier League, John, one day, how do you think the club and the fan base would adapt? And actually, do you think they need to adapt at all?
Probably not in many aspects. I think you kind of lose something if you try and change, and that's probably not the best thing to do as a club. I don't think realistically they probably would change. I mean, generally clubs only change if something's going wrong, or they're trying to kind of manufacture something. But I don't know whether,
The biggest thing I take from that question for you guys is the fact that I've seen it with Norwich. I've seen it with, I'm going to say it, Morgan, Luton. Is the expectation management. So you go up and everything's brilliant because you just got promoted. You got your metaphorical 120 million pound check sitting in your back pocket burning a hole. And a lot of the fans think, right, okay, who are we going to sign? Kevin De Bruyne is coming. Who else? We'll have that Salah chap from Liverpool. I'm joking, obviously, but there's a lot of fans do heighten their expectations about signings. About if you do unfortunately drop down again in the division where you expect it to be one of the better teams in the league, and quite frankly, it doesn't always work out like that. So I guess, and then the next thing that leads on from that is a drop in the atmosphere, because people are like, oh, well, we've just had that ecstasy of promotion. Now what? So I guess, in a roundabout way, in a long-winded way, do you think Mill fans' expectations will ever change?
I think they're fairly high at the moment in terms of the last few seasons. We've kind of had a sort of push towards the playoffs and missed out by a few points. And I think this season we'll probably do the same. But I think that the start of season expectation is that we could get a playoff spot, because we've made a few signings. The squad looks quite good. As long as we don't lose a couple of players, which is always a possibility, then we could have a good go, or as good a go as 5 or 6 other decent teams are likely to have. But on the point, go back to if we were in the Premier League, I think the expectation would be pretty realistic. If we managed to finish 17th, staying up on goal difference, I think people would be ecstatic.
Yeah. What's your? I mean, I've got a different question lined up for question 4, but just for now, what is your opinion on it? What would be your opinion on going up? Like if because you don't know, you've got a canny manager in Alex Neil, but what would be how would you feel about it?
It's a tricky one, because it's always one of those things. Is it too soon? Are we ready as a club? Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the players not just to go up and have to spend 300 million like Sunderland are doing, and so on? But at the same time, if you never get there, you'll never know if you are ready. So it's one of those tricky questions. I would say let's do it. If we do go up, it will be an adventure. We'll probably get battered quite a lot, but have fun whilst you're doing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Can you still hear me, guys? By the way, it would be nice. It would be nice to see Millwall do it, because I think there's so many of these clubs like Norwich. Well, not for the last few seasons, obviously, but that sort of bounce up and down, like the Burnleys. Who else has done it recently? Sheffield United, Southampton, that have gone up and down, up and down. It gets boring, doesn't it? It'd be nice to see a different club that has never. I'm now thinking in my football knowledge. Have never been in the Premier League. Just make that step up and see what you can do.
No, I think there's 3 or 4 in the Championship who have never been in the Premier League, and we're one of them.
Preston,
I was going to say Preston.
Yeah. Who else?
Wrexham.
It doesn't matter. Oh yeah, Wrexham. Yeah, that'll be one of them.
But yeah, we were in the old Div 1 in the late 80s, just a few years before it became the Premier League. But yeah, we sadly couldn't stay up and missed out on boom times.
I think it's like we've had this. We even had this conversation this morning with the ex director of football, Stuart Webber, from another podcast. But like you said, when are you ready? Because you could. It was the conversation about the training ground, Jez. You missed out because you dipped out at the time. But that, like, it's like that saying, like, free beer, like pubs put on like billboards, free beer tomorrow. It's like tomorrow never comes. So it's like, could that there's that fear factor of like, we're going to go up and we're going to get smashed every week. But at the same time, if you don't do it, you might be plucky enough to, you might hold your attitude. Millwall, the Den might become like the Kenny was almost with Luton. It might become that sort of, you'll ground out those wins or draws at the Den. So I think it's a tough one, but like I just said, tomorrow never comes if you don't give it a go.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen sort of Forest, Brentford, Fulham. I know that they've got different levels of money behind them, but they've come up, they've had a plan, they've bought well, and they've stayed up the first couple of seasons, and then they've pushed on. I mean, why couldn't we?
Yeah.
Well, because lots of reasons, but
yeah. But I mean, equally with that, with going up, and maybe you come down again, and maybe you go up again, like Jez just said. But when you're then in the Premier League, you then become an attractive prospect for different investment. I guess a sub question would be, is that something your fans would take to? Because I mean, there's a lot of US investment now. Is that something because I don't know who your ownership is at the moment.
We're owned by an American.
Oh, right. You are. Okay.
Yeah. So we were bought, can't remember however many years ago, maybe 10 odd years ago, by John Berylson, and he sadly died in a car accident 2 years ago. And he was put a lot of investment in, lots of community, and so on. And his son has taken over as the chairman and seems to be equally as involved, comes to lots of the games and so on, and seems to be investing in the club and the project around the area. And seems quite engaged with the club. Sometimes you have foreign owners and they try and change things or do things that the fan base would never really want in order to cater for a slightly different audience, but that doesn't seem to have been the case.
No, definitely.
Yeah. So just moving on to, have you got anything else to say, Jez? Sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's your obviously question 4 now, isn't it?
Yeah. So you've got in, and I mentioned it a second ago, a canny operator in Alex Neil. Now, me and Jez know Alex Neil of ex of Norwich Parish. 10 years? Is it 10 years ago now?
Must be. Yeah, at least. Yeah.
So, Alex Neil took over halfway through, got us into the Premier League. Unfortunately, couldn't keep us there in the following season. The Championship wasn't great, but he knows the league. And I actually think my predictions, I'm not going to give a prediction, like proper prediction, but I think you're going to be up there or thereabouts, especially under Alex Neil's kind of stewardship. So what was, because you've been nearly there. So can you explain, because you're gradually, I feel like you're almost doing a Brentford in that you've been sort of bubbling in and around the playoff areas for a while now. So what's it going to take to kind of get there?
We just don't score enough goals. That's always been part of our problem. Last year, I think we scored 46 or 48 in 46 games. It's pretty poor. We've always been fairly solid and deconstructive, but going forwards, we've always overly relied on single people to try and get 15 goals here, 15 goals there, and so on. So I think generally we need to be a bit more attacking and open and just try and take more risks, and hopefully that will maybe get us across the line. We started playing 2 up front under Neil, which has been good at times, but maybe other times we haven't had the service, and that's just meant that 2 forwards are isolated up top and having to come back and try and help out and so on. But generally, yeah, I think you're right. Neil is a canny operator, and since he's come in, we've had very good form and good.
Yeah.
We've generally played quite well in most games. There's not been too many games where we've been really poor.
Yeah. Has your style of football changed?
I wouldn't say it's changed massively. I think football in general has, over the last 5-6 years, has gone to a lot more possession based, especially in the Championship and lower league, compared with how it was. Players don't really run the channels as much as they did. But I think we're definitely a more technical team than we've ever been. We've got some quite skillful young players that have either come in through the academy. We sold one to Palace in January, Romain Esse, for quite a lot of money. And we've got another guy, Reece Bangura Williams, who's very talented, who could hopefully, it could be his time to shine in the Championship. And we've got a few other flair players who, on their day, can look brilliant, but I'm sure that's why they're in the Championship, because their day doesn't come as often as it should do. But yeah, I think we're looking to be more of an attacking team, and hopefully with that we can push forward and get towards the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Jez, you got any comments about Alex Neil? Because our time, one of the best moments of our in our recent history, going to Wembley.
I have. I think it was twofold, Morgan, for me. I think he proceeded, as you said, whatever the word is, was manager when we went to Wembley. I think his initial impact was very good with us, but he was only about 34, I think, 33, 34. And I know age isn't a thing, right? Age shouldn't be a thing, but I just think there was some really experienced players in that dressing room that initially got us promoted. And I don't mean that to sound disrespectful to Alex Neil, because it's really not. But they played a massive part in that. But then what we found was in the Premier League, it just didn't work for whatever reason. And then when we got relegated, the reason he failed at Norwich, and I stick to this, is because we were winning I think it was either 2-1 or 3-2 away to Newcastle. And it was the 92nd minute. We ended up losing the game 4-3. And I think something happened in the dressing room that night, because after that we were awful. So I think he lost the dressing room. But then he is a little bit more experienced now. And I agree with what you're saying, both of you actually, that he's an experienced Championship manager with Preston. So he's picked up the baton there as well. And I really thought because we actually interviewed the Millwall fan about 2 days before he got appointed, so we obviously talked about Alex Neil quite a lot, but I just think he's a really good fit. I think he's a really good fit for the club, in terms of your playing style, in terms of everything we've talked about today. And you're right, Morgan, I think Millwall, you always look at that dark horse, don't you, of a team. Millwall could be that dark horse this season. Keep everyone fit. You're on for them.
I'm not gonna lie, and Steve Tallett, if he checks this out, another chap who worked with me and John at Camden, I'm not looking forward to playing. I'm not looking forward to playing Millwall. I'm not like I'm going to go to the first home game. Hence the reason why you're on this call, John. On next Saturday, just in a week's time. So
tomorrow as we release the episode.
yes, tomorrow. Yeah,
it'll be tomorrow.
Got it clanging there, didn't I? Pro, but yeah, I think you're going to be there or thereabouts for sure.
Yeah,
you're going
I think so.
I think it's going to be really difficult to beat.
For you, we've got a terrible record at Carrow Road. I think we've only won once or twice in our history there, so I'm not expecting much.
I remember that absolutely. We talked about it again today. That shit crazy game that, like, what is it? We were that 3-2 down.
4-3. Yeah, 3-2 down going into injury time, wasn't it?
Yeah, to win. Was it Jordan Rhodes and Timu Pukki? It was that famous image of Pukki peeling it away.
And I don't know how or why Jordan Rhodes found that amount of space in the middle of the box in the 93rd minute. It was the pass from Branch. I think it was Vrancic put the ball in, and he just found him. Like, he could have literally been standing on his own in the middle of, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a really big place, but I can't.
Your head.
Oh, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done for today. But no, just a great pass, and then obviously the bundle in from Pukki was just unbelievable. But you're right, John. Your record ain't great, but it's got to be broken at some point, isn't it? We've had a lot of changes. We've had a lot of changes this summer, and you're going to find us. You're going to find us on a bad day eventually. So I think a draw. Personally, I think it'll be a draw tomorrow.
But can we also bring up the 4-0 battering? Like you said, John, you said earlier on, you're like, oh, we don't score that many, and I was like, I was there at the Den that day when you beat us 4-0. The worst I've ever seen Norwich play.
You were there for the first half, as you revealed earlier. Thank you.
Yeah, it was, but that was something. Were you at that game, John?
What year was it? Was it last year?
2018. Yeah.
Probably. I mean, I generally go to most of the games, and we're generally all right to get to at home, and we just always lose away.
There you go. And it always seems to be Boxing Day or New Year's Day, doesn't it? Because obviously we're geographically we're not close, but we're a lot closer than a lot of other clubs. So, right. So finally, John, just before I hand over to Morgan for the random question of the week, God help us. Is there a player, past or present, who really embodies what Millwall is about?
I guess some of the most famous players are the ones that sort of have embodied the Millwall spirit, sort of heart on the sleeve, never say die attitude. There'll be people like Terry Hurlock, who played for us in the 80s, Barry Kitchener, who was around in the 60s, 70s, Keith Stevens, who was our captain, called Rhino in the 90s, and then people like Neil Harris, who's our all-time top goal scorer, managed the club twice, got us promoted and everything. So, people like that are the sort of people who embody what Millwall's about. Heart on the sleeve, never give up, run until you drop. That's what the fans expect, and that's what they love.
Yeah. Steve we shared Steve Morrison with you guys. Yeah. I think he's one of the players that scored against us that 4-0 drubbing.
No, he would fall into that category as well. He sort of never stopped.
Dennis Wise?
He was the leader on the pitch. Yeah, people like Dennis Wise, to some extent, people like Tim Cahill as well. Even though he was with us for a short time and then came back when he was almost 40. He was away from the club for a long time, but people, because of what he did, who he was, they really sort of connected with his passion on the pitch.
Yeah, 100%. Where's the training ground for Millwall, by the way?
The training ground in Bromley, Calmont Road.
Okay.
It's maybe 5-6 miles from the stadium.
Yeah, no,
but most without play anyway.
Okay, interesting. That's a really left field question. I know it's just I've never really thought about where it would have been, but
Right. Yeah, most of the training grounds of clubs tend to be sort of further out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Arsenal and Watford share. Well, not they don't share one, but they're next door to each other in London Colney, which is just off the M25, isn't it? So, just down the road from me, actually. Funny enough. Right, Morgan, over to you, my friend.
Is it the first random question? It's the first random question of the South Stand series of the new season.
Get on with it.
How exciting! All right, how exciting! Do I have to do this? Do I have to do the chair spin for
every time, mate? Sorry.
Okay. I'm gonna wear like a fake mustache one day or whatever. Random question of the week. All that happens to all our guests. So obviously you've got your nickname, the Millwall, the Lions, right? And you've got a lion chocolate bar. So let's discount that. What would be a representation of Millwall as a football club in a chocolate bar? What it would include? What would be the vibe of that said chocolate bar?
Oh, wow. Oh, really is a random question. Oh
my gosh.
Probably be some nuts, because there's a few nutters around. Maybe what else would there be? Maybe a bit of nougat. Yeah, that's probably about it. Some nuts and nougat and covered in chocolate and wrapped in a blue shirt.
Lovely. Because you were sponsored by a chocolate company, weren't you, for a while?
We were sponsored by where were they from? Sweden or Norway? They're called Husky.
That's
I think they went back, or they went bust in the UK because they stopped being our sponsor. And we had Husky hot chocolate was always for sale at the ground. Unfortunately, I never had some, so missed out on that one.
What obviously it'd be called the Lion, the chocolate bar.
The Lion.
Yeah.
Why not?
Jez is scratching his head going,
no, I'm not. I've actually learned my lesson and started thinking about it as soon as you asked the question. So I knew, obviously, John would take his time to answer the question and give a really good answer. So no, mine would be a dime bar, because it's hard on the inside and soft on the outside.
No.
What, to represent Norwich?
Yeah. Because we're quite I think they're within the club. They're quite a hard, solid unit and stick together, and want to portray that kind of image. Whereas on the outside, they do want to look up for the community and be a little bit softer around the edges, because they want to look after their fan base and they want to, portray an image of being, nice. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So a dime bar, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would probably say, because I think I think Norwich is a bit like Millwall. I think there's a commonality in it that's people just either love Millwall or hate Millwall. I think Norwich is a bit similar. Like, I think some people really hate how we yo-yo or used to yo-yo, but then other people really enjoy it. So I'd probably put some fruit in there, because fruit's always a bit of a hard one, isn't it? Marmite.
Yeah, I thought you were going to make the Marmite analogy, to be fair.
Or salted caramel, because some people think that's gross, but I like it. So I'd throw that in there. Some fruit, some salted caramel. I love the fact that you called nugget nougat, so I'll put some nougat in there as well, and wrap it all up, and there we go.
So he's from south of the river, isn't it? If you go south of I think if you went south of the river, Morgan, you get a nosebleed.
I do love South. I do. It's. I hope. Hopefully, I'll be back there one day. So
yeah, let's hope so. Okay, cool. What made me think of that question when you were talking about that was, did you two see when Wimbledon was on, Marks and Spencer's did some strawberry and cream sandwiches?
Oh
yeah,
I did not.
I saw him in the petrol station and thought, I'm going to get them, and I didn't in the end. I wish I had, because I wanted to see what they tasted like, but I would imagine it'd be all right. I would have thought it would have tasted quite nice. Anyway, we're going off on a tangent here.
Well, that's what we do.
Right, boys. So just before we finish, let's have a prediction for tomorrow. I'm going to regret this, but we'll start with Morgan.
Why? I've moved away from the 10-0s.
Okay. Oh, good. What are you going for?
11.
Probably. Yeah, I used to say 10-0 all the time until we started playing really badly, and then I stopped doing that because it wasn't funny for anyone. I'll probably say 2-2 because we're still kind of finding our feet, and you as you say, you don't have a good record at Carrow Road, so 2-2 for me.
John?
Realistically, I think our record will continue, and I'll go 2-1 Norwich, although I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought a draw. I'm the same as you, Morgan. I think it'll be a draw because I just know hang on, let me get this right in my head. Our opening game record isn't great. Like I think we've won maybe once or twice in the last 15 years. And that once was at home. So one of those ones was at home where we scored a last-minute goal against Hull to actually do that. So, long story short, 1-1 draw. Pretty drab game. But everyone goes home happy because it'll be nice and sunny.
Everyone goes home happy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, John, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to get to know you and a little bit more about Millwall as well. Is there anyone you want to say hello to or give a little shout out to?
Just to myself.
Lovely. I think you deserve that after spending the last 52 minutes with me and Morgan. So I do think you deserve that.
Yeah, it's been great. No, I appreciate you coming on and sort of giving us a bit more of a background about Millwall and sort of debunking some of the kind of myths. So yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Definitely. And just for everyone else listening, you can like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, to get more great content like this throughout the season. We will be speaking to every single fan that travels to Carrow Road to find out a little bit more about their team. And as well as that, Killian O'Grady's going to be speaking to some when Norwich go away, he's going to be speaking to some of the fans there as well, isn't he, Morgan?
Yeah, Killian away days.
Yeah, and look out for our regular show Beyond the Barclay, as well as our new women's football show, All in Yellow. I've been Jez Davies.
I've been Morgan Hewitt.
John, say it. Say I've been John.
It's your turn.
Say John. John, say I've been John Sabir, Millwall fan, or something like that. Is he froze?
No, he's still blinking.
Hello, sorry.
Hello, John. We're still here. John. We're just waiting for you to speak. Yes. Good.
Our first one.
Yeah, that went well. Thanks.
Yeah, I thought you were doing it on purpose, or were you?
No, it just froze for a second, and then it sort of clicked back in.
There we go. Oh. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Goodbye. Enjoy the game tomorrow and catch us next week.
Soon.
Bye. That's all for this episode of Beyond the Barclay. Thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. If you enjoyed it, be sure to follow, leave a review and share it with fellow Norwich City fans.
We'll be back soon with more insight and discussion from around Carrow Road. Until then, on the Ball City.